The main concern of the judge releasing an arrestee from jail is whether or not they will skip town and not come back to the court to answer the charges against them. This is especially a serious concern the more serious the charges are. Here's a brief overview of the history behind surety bonds. At the beginning of the criminal justice system in America, people who were arrested could ask friends and family to promise to pay a bond amount if they didn't show up for court. But over time, there were fewer and fewer people who could get family and friends to act as their insurance policy if they didn't go to court. This is understandable because this is a lot of personal liability for someone else. The rationale behind a bond amount and having people pay up front for their freedom is negative motivation. If you don't come back to court, then you lose all the money you paid for your freedom. The hope is that most people will not want to lose their money, so they will show up for court. The purest form of a bail bond amount is cash bond. This is paying the full bond amount in full before the person is released. You don't need someone vouching for you because you paid the entire amount to the court. This is actually the cheapest way to get out because if you go to all your court dates, you get all of your money back. Most people can't afford to pay thousands of dollars up front, unfortunately. So surety bonds are this mix between paying a little bit of money up front and signing the rights over to your collateral so it can be sold to pay for your bond amount, just in case you disappear and don't show up. This hybrid model is called a surety bond. Surety bonds are exactly what they sound like. There is an insurance company that insures the full bond amount if the person skips court. And most surety bond companies charge between 10 to 20% of the bond amount and require family or friends to co-sign or sign over collateral. The caveat is the surety bond can meet their obligation to the court if they pay the full bond amount or return the person to court. This is why there are so many TV shows on bounty hunters. These people return people to court. It's what they do. They go to the person's house or place of work and call the cops on them or arrest them on the spot and take them to jail. The Bail Reform Act that passed in 1966 was a big step in the right direction, making release by personal bond the norm. But in the 70s and 80s, people were scared in their communities due to increasing violence. And the Bail Reform Act of 1984 let the court use flight risk or public safety risk as a reason to keep someone in jail. This is still the system that is used in Austin today. Judges denying people's release on a personal bond due to being a flight risk or a public safety risk. And they sit in jail because they can't afford a cash or surety bond. But things have improved in 2020 because Austin Pretrial Services is now interviewing people with a financial workup that the judge can see and take into consideration when setting their bond amount. So if they don't qualify for a personal bond, then they can still afford to get out of jail.